Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about our friends at the Empanadas Box. The Empanadas Box is a small, family-owned restaurant owned by natives of Buenos Aires, Argentina, and they have Argentine-style empanadas with 22 other globally inspired flavors available every single day. Looking for a suggestion? Well, how about the Oktoberfest empanada with bratwurst from LK sausage? It also has cabbage, carrots, onion, and mustard that is only available in the month of September. Their empanadas are available for dine-in and carry-out, but the pro move here is to get a box of frozen ones to take home. You can also find them in your favorite food delivery app. You can check them out online at theempanadasbox.com or check the link down in the description. You can find more information there, including information on their catering options for lunches, parties, and more. And a special offer to listeners of the Postcast, they're offering 10% off your order at their Covington, Kentucky location if you mention the Postcast at checkout. They're at 212 West Pike Street in Covington, and I am happy to report that the staff there are incredibly nice and the food is top notch. If you've been listening to the Postcast, you know we've been talking these guys up well before they were a sponsor of the Postcast. So again, special thanks to the Empanadas Box, incredible folks there. And if you go to their Covington, Kentucky location, they'll get you 10% off for mentioning the Postcast.
Acosta with a nutmeg to get around Malanda. Now Acosta gets around another defender. Lucho charging forward to the 18. Lucho wants a goal, and Lucho has the goal! The captain dances his way down the pitch, and there's your exclamation point.
Joining me to talk about all of that and more are two gentlemen who also were just, I don't know, minds blown on Saturday night. I've got the Chief, I've got Grayson. Gentlemen, are we still recovering, or have we recovered from that night? Chief, I go to you.
I don't know. Vibes, incredible. Just immaculate vibes right now.
Oh.
Get right. That was get right there. Because there was, in the first half, they were dominating that first half, creating chances, but they weren't scoring. And no. I said, and I put out there online that, like, when you're playing a bad team or a team that's inferior to you, you've got to score that goal and put the pressure on them and then go run away. Yes. Because the longer you let a bad team or a mediocre team linger in a game, the more you put yourself at the whim of chance, of luck, of a banger. And it felt like it had been too long since this team had gone up, gotten up, and not worried about sweating a result out. And that's the kind of win right there that gives you confidence about a playoff run for this team, or about, taking care of their business down the stretch with the Shield. And just everything about last night, just awesome.
Grayson, how are we feeling? Sunday evening, a little peek behind the curtain. Sunday evening as we're recording this. How are you feeling at this point in time?
So, I unfortunately was not able to make the game last night. So, as the game was ending, everybody who had been there was talking about how, this is a top one experience of watching FC Cincinnati in MLS. And I'll tell you what, it's a little different on your phone at Mad Tree while the Ohio State Notre Dame game is going on. But I did get a chance to rewatch, and having gone through some of the calls of the Lucho goal, having heard the stadium noise, especially after his goal and after he got subbed out, and as he's walking off the field, you can hear the chants of MVP, MVP. It does feel like we've seen maybe the first glimpse of what this team can be still this season. Because yes, they didn't finish early, but if you play a game like that, you're almost never going to lose. Yeah. And there will be games where they're not hitting their shots and they win 1-2-0 or they tie. But if you play like that, there's also going to be games you win 6-7-0, which this game could have been.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you add up all of the bad misses, right? The obvious misses, and we'll certainly talk about some of those. And then the near misses. I can't think of Lucho's bicycle kick as like the greatest what if goal for FCC in terms of what this game would have looked like.
Let's definitely talk about the what ifs of that later on. But
yes.
But this is a game where I do have that apprehension when they're not scoring early.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a game where that nervousness was all about what Charlotte might do.
Right.
At no point was it about anything Charlotte actually was doing.
Right.
The other thing about this game, too, just as like a big picture thing, is that I have humility about this game. Because as an FC Cincinnati fan, I have been on the other side of this game a lot.
Yes.
Where it just felt like we were playing with an extra man the entire game, where the ball was always pinging around to an open person. There were runs being made that were unchecked. There were bailout chances being stopped because we were always in dangerous positions the entire game. And I appreciate and I want to acknowledge that it must be awful to be a Charlotte FC fan right now. And I know that because that was us 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. We're flattering ourselves a little bit. We are flattering ourselves a little bit by saying that was us.
Right. They are very likely to make the playoffs, I think. So.
Right.
They still have a good shot. And I want to let's dispel this notion that Charlotte FC is a bad team. Charlotte FC, but for one of the dumber plays of their season, would have beaten Philly Union last Wednesday 2-1.
Yeah.
There goes little Grayson right there, a noun, a verb, using his canned line.
Oh, no, I up in 2:15 where I watched this game, across the aisle from me, I was in an aisle seat, so over in I think it would have been 14 over that direction, directly across from me, two Charlotte fans in their cleanest, nicest Charlotte kits, and
brand new. They transplants from Charlotte, just found out they had a team.
Yeah, right. I never talked to them. I gave them a half-hearted boo when they walked up to their seats, and then as the game was going on, I didn't even look at them. I just felt so bad for them that if they
you
traveled,
look over there and just like, hey, been there, man, been there.
Oh, you can't feel bad for opposing fans. You simply can't. Okay.
Yeah, you signed up for this by coming here.
I've learned this lesson personally twice as an opposing fan.
Okay.
The first was at Arrowhead Stadium. At the AFC Championship game, when my Kansas City fan seatmates gave us some of their airplane bottles of shots because the Bengals were down so bad and they just felt bad that we had traveled so far to see our team lose. I bet they regretted that later. and then the other, frankly, was in Philly last weekend.
Yeah.
I think I was getting a lot of oh, you guys are still doing fine comments at halftime, and
you're having a nice season.
Yeah,
we are having a nice game too, as it turns out.
Just an incredible evening, and it was so nice to see it all come together. This was the Lucho match after the Lucho week that was, with the ads in the newspaper, the press conferences, the contract extension that it eventually all led to. Just incredible going into this. You had Bupenza and Acosta seemingly work out a lot of whatever that was, and maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just rust and some gel needing to happen. But no, that everything was just coming together, working. And I'll run through the lineup here in a moment. There is a presence on the back line here that I have no doubts he would have played better if he was there, but it wasn't really missing Matt Miazga in this one. We finally saw the maturity of this back line that we haven't seen this season up until this point. We're typically missing something when he's not back there.
Wasn't this the back line that we had in at least one of, maybe DC?
That sounds right.
So we've seen this back line be bad before.
Yes.
Is the point I'm making, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't tell you exactly which game, but yes, that is the answer. We good to run through the lineup here. I think it's a good starting point here. So your lineup was essentially the same lineup from the previous match, but trade Miazga for Mosquera. So you've got Celentano in goal, Ian Murphy, Mosquera and Hagelin across the back line, Barreal out wide. On the left, Arias on the right, Wobodo, Moreno, and Acosta making up that midfield triangle. Wow, I know my shapes, with Bupenza and Vasquez up top. And I mean, from the jump, I saw at least about 2 minutes into this game, 2 instances of Charlotte time wasting. And that just sort of set the tone for how Charlotte was going to be approaching this game, which was like, if we escape with a draw, we will be very lucky and happy with that.
That's their game plan. Their game plan going into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that their game plan going into this was, we're going to cynically try to score 1 goal and win a 1-0 game. And everything about the way they played in the first half was indicative of that. But credit to FC Cincinnati and credit to this lineup. You didn't notice Miazga wasn't out there because Ian Murphy had an incredible game. Yerson Mosquera had an incredible game. Clean, no cards, and immediately forward pressing, attacking, looking to hit strike early and get that first goal. So they tried to time waste, but you got to have the ball to time waste. And they didn't see a lot of the ball in any sort of a threatening position for the majority of this game.
Yeah, this game, I mean, it's funny too, like Charlotte does end up with a lot of the possession for sure, but this was like the MO of what FCC was doing, the early part of the summer, mid part of the summer, which was going into these games happy with 30% of the possession, letting these teams ping it around the back, the pressure, forcing the long balls, and then breaking on the counter. And that's how this game went. Charlotte played directly into what FCC was looking to do. It was just for the first, whatever it was, 40 minutes or so, it just wasn't leading into a goal, right? Like it wasn't turning into an actual goal.
It's important. It's important to note the possession that Charlotte had in this game was lowercase p possession, where there was a lot of possession where it was ostensibly Charlotte's ball, but only because FC Cincinnati hadn't yet stepped forward to take it, or balls where it would go down in the ledger as Charlotte possession, but the pass they were making was to a person who was immediately about to be dispossessed. And the play was being funneled to somebody to be dispossessed, to where it was already our ball. They just didn't know it yet, and the stats won't reflect that.
I like that. Some sites, some very sophisticated sites will do a sort of like three-way possession. So they'll give the actual team possession and then I forget the phrase they use, but it's like contested or between or something like that. I'd be curious to see how different the possession stats are on a site trying to track something like that in this game. Because I agree, there was a lot of phantom possession for Charlotte. I was surprised that they had as much on the official stats as they did. I really felt like FCC had the majority of the ball for the majority of the game, and yet That is not how the stats bore this one out.
Yeah, the XG on FOTMob, it's over 3 to us.
Whew.
0.53 to Charlotte. And like you said, like I'm hard pressed to see, right, where Charlotte's 0.53 comes from. It does say they had one big chance. Fine.
I can't. It must have come at the very end of the game. That's all I can think about. Because they were, I mean, they did the classic thing where they throw all the numbers forward. We were happy to sit back and defend it. And I think that, for me, is sort of the story of the first half, is this back line snuffed out everything. It was one of the most smothering defensive performances we've ever seen for FC Cincinnati. And again, missing, if not the winner, a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. And the defense was this good. It was so good.
Yeah, the first half was dominated by Obina Nwobodo.
Yes.
He was everywhere on the field in the first half. Between him and the backline keeping Karol Swiderski in their back pocket the entire time, there was no space. There was no ability to play anything for Charlotte. And when they did find themselves trying to counter with odd man breaks, Nwobodo or Mascara was always tracking back to chase down anytime there was an opportunity. And they just didn't have chances. It was a incredibly disciplined affair from FC Cincinnati. And importantly, too, with that defense, something you can't say a lot this year, no cards.
Yes.
No disciplinary infractions, no bad challenges, no horror tackles. It was such a clean effort defensively. I think part of that is because it was a well-officiated game, which I'm going to say as a biased FC Cincinnati fan when they're not throwing and spamming bullshit cards at us. But it was just an incredibly clean and efficient defensive effort. And to win the ball that often and snuff out that many attacks and not concede a card, that's just, you are playing at a high level. And this is sort of like the level that we know this team can play at defensively when everyone is playing together and when they're getting best efforts out of guys like Hagland, out of Ian Murphy, out of Junior Moreno, sort of the unsung heroes of the defense this year.
Yeah.
And I'll give credit to the referee as well.
Whoa.
And what I want to point out is, Orlando didn't really have a lot of cards either. I know they had 2 at halftime for dissent after the first goal, but I don't recall, if Orlando had many others, but it was nevertheless, despite the lack of yellow cards, a pretty well under controlled game.
Yeah.
And that shows you a referee that is, self-possessed enough to just call the game. Like it was really never he was the center of attention. Nothing ever spiraled into these like big fights or big confrontations or anything. People complained here and there, as they do.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that, like, if you call a game and you operate with the appropriate earned authority,
yes,
you don't got to be throwing around 20 cards a game.
Right.
No.
Right.
And it's not even cards too. It's that we've all seen these games where teams are looking to see what they can get away from in terms of drawing fouls, drawing contact. And there were 2 or 3 instances early in this game where Charlotte was testing that to see what level of ref show they could devolve this game into. Because make no mistake, when you're the inferior team, the ref show benefits the inferior team in almost every circumstance. Yeah. So early in this game, I want to say it was about maybe 7-8 minutes in, there's a call for a penalty on Junior Moreno, an appeal for a penalty on Moreno, where it is an absolute dive in the box.
Yes.
It should have been a card for simulation. I'm not going to fault for that, but that's an opportunity, and that's sort of a pivot point in this game where I have seen shitty refereeing that would have awarded the penalty in that spot, and you would have been at the mercy of VAR there.
Yep.
About 10 minutes later, going down the right-hand side, there's another just direct dive for a called for foul. I believe it was on Nick Hagland, I want to say, or Santi Arias. And again, the referee's like, there's absolutely nothing in that. No. And from that point onward, it looked like Charlotte realized we're not going to be getting the bullshit from this guy, so there's no point in trying. And that's the impact of good refereeing early in a game, is that it cuts this bullshit off versus in previous games we've seen, like the Orlando game was a great example, where the ref doesn't take that control early in the game and the entire game devolves into shithousery because they know that it's going to be rewarded with a whistle and with a call.
Yeah. Yeah. The only controversial moment I can even think of was, I believe it was Lucho was sort of like horse collar tackled and it was no called, and then Swoboda did the same to a Charlotte player and they called it. It's like that was the most egregious moment of the game, which was, I don't know, every 3 minutes in the average MLS game. So whatever, like that was totally fine. Also, Chief, to your point, I saw this elsewhere. I've not gone back to verify it, but it feels right. So I feel confident saying it. This was the first FCC game without a card against FC Cincinnati. That was according to random person on the internet. So
there you go. Well, that sounds obvious and true.
You know, part of it also was there were several really nice tackles that Obi was allowed to make.
Yes.
That other MLS referees frequently call fouls.
Yeah.
And it's like the one, like there was one, for example, where he ran up behind a Charlotte player and was able to slide and get his foot in between the player's legs and knock the ball loose, right?
Yes.
That's perfectly clean tackle. No contact with the player. MLS referees call that a foul all the time on him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There was even one later in the game, Charlotte slide tackled Lucho in much the same way. It was sort of like a slide tackle from behind, but it was so slow that Lucho sort of ran into it and lost the ball. It was a very clever tackle, but it was a slide tackle from behind. And there was like a moment's hesitation, I feel like, on the field. It was like, oh, no, it's clean. Okay, we're good. We're good. I was just like, yeah, hell yeah, man. Like, this is really nice to see. So, no, I think
before we really get over our skis with giving this ref credit, I do want to say that part of the reason why this was a cleanly officiated game was that it was a cleanly played game. That there was no point in this game where FC Cincinnati lost composure, where they committed stupid fouls, where they committed frustration fouls. Part of that is borne out by the fact that they were on the front foot literally from jump in this game.
Right.
And there wasn't a need to ever be in a position. There were very few opportunities where they felt like they needed to do something to foul or create a professional fouling situation or make a bailout fouling situation. So I don't want to give all the credit to the officials. It was just a very, very well played game defensively. And in terms of the press being effective as well, by doing that effectively, by dispossessing effectively without fouling, it allowed them to create numerous chances in this game where you were shocked that they weren't up 1-2 before you get to the first goal of the game.
Yeah. And if we're going to also, give the ref credit for not calling the penalty that the Orlando player was calling for the next minute and a half. The bulk of that credit,
Charlotte player, to be clear.
Sorry, yeah, Charlotte player.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about the right game.
you got to give the bulk of that credit to Moreno.
Yes,
for just standing his ground so well and not kicking in. Not giving the ref any reason to call a penalty on him there.
Yeah.
I do want to say Moreno did do the hands up thing, and I hate the hands up thing because I immediately assume you're guilty when you start protesting that you didn't do anything. So that would be my only criticism of that defensive moment from Junior Moreno early in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah. The hands up is never good unless you go into it with hands up, which then is super weird. So why are you doing that? I think we can talk about, at least in the first half, a couple of misses. Bupenza had one off of his head that maybe it's unfair to criticize, but man, in the moment, it really felt like he could have redirected that. He had another one that was called back, I think, for being offside, or maybe they called a foul on him.
There was a foul in the buildup, I believe.
But man, dead play or not, it really should have scored that goal. That was so frustrating to see him just put that one 2-3 yards wide. And then I'll say the greatest miss of all time, Lucho Acosta's attempted bike. I guess it's not a miss, but more of a save. But yeah, that bicycle kick was just pure Lucho in that, like, it is equal parts an incredible feat of soccer and just like pure entertainment and just like totally unnecessary, which just adds to the overall fun factor of what you're watching. And that is just so much of what he does out there. And
it was a Lucho FIFA moment, because like, that's the type of move that is only possible in a video game where the character is going to do whatever you press the button to do, regardless of if the physics support him being able to do that or not. He's surrounded by two players. He has maybe generously 18 inches of space to get himself in the air, turn his foot over to redirect the ball over his head onto frame. Physics and a lifetime of experience tell me that shouldn't be possible. And I don't know what's crazier, that he actually got the ball on frame from that position and forced a great save from the keeper, or that his brain decided that was a good idea in the first place. I can't decide what's more bananas.
So there was a Charlotte player who threw his hands up after Lucha's thing, like as if he was calling for a foul.
Yeah.
And I could understand how in the moment you feel that, you know, it's a high kick or whatever because people are too close to him. But like, I can't think of a more lame ass thing to do is to call for a foul on a bicycle kick when nobody got hit.
Right.
Like, come on, man. You just got owned, and now you're like limping away, pretending like you got hurt, which happens again later. But
right.
So here's the what if I want to throw out.
Please.
If Lucho makes the bicycle kick,
yes,
does he pass to either Baji or Bupenza in his run up?
No. And what a storyline it is if he passes.
Night.
Yes.
It's his night. He's not, there is no circumstance. He could have scored 5 in the first half. He's not passing that ball.
He might shoot earlier, actually, is what happens.
No, to your point about the lamest thing ever. It's the functional equivalent of the guy who, you know, gets dunked on so heinously in an NBA game that his head is in some dude's nuts because the guy is jumping over him physically and then asking for a charge on that.
Yeah,
that's so what Lucho was attempting to do there in a certain sense was he was attempting to posterize someone in a soccer game. And I am all for that in all circumstances. I don't care how high his foot gets. I don't care if he kicks him in the head. No, it can't be. He's a little dude. That's where I was
going. Yeah, he's like, what, 4'11", like, come on now. It can't possibly be a high kick. That's literally impossible. Man, I mean, we'll obviously talk about it later, but man, what a storyline if he passes to Bupenza or Baji. Can you imagine if he passes it to Baji there? Oh, it'd be restarting the whole controversy all over again.
Yeah, so just again, like calling for a foul in that situation.
It's such a bust.
That's embarrassing.
Move.
Have some pride.
Oh, speaking of, in the 45th, dare I say, 46th minute, Alvaro.
Before we get to Alvaro, there was another miss that I want to talk about.
Oh, please.
So there is a moment in this game where Barreal makes an incredible pass around. It's a bending ball from the wing that Vasquez can't get a foot on. It falls to Bupenza. And it is only because someone comes diving out of the middle of nowhere that Bouppenza doesn't have a goal. So there's that miss from Bouppenza. Earlier in the first half, there is a through ball that is fed through to Vasquez, and he's one-on-one with the keeper. He gets no elevation on the ball, and the keeper is able to make a save within just like that 1v1 situation. I bring this up for two reasons. Number one, there were multiple opportunities for this team to win this game, like 5-6-0.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to bring up, and I want to sort of get this out there, dispense with this narrative, dispel this narrative. I am seeing it out there that Brandon Vasquez is having a bad game or having a bad run of games. And I just don't see it. The results aren't there in terms of the final touch. Look, I'm the first person that says
I was gonna say
the strikers are paid to score goals. It's a make-miss league. It's a binary situation. You're either scoring goals or you're not scoring goals. Having said that, he doesn't need to in a game like this.
Yes.
Yes.
For rubbing off on him.
Don't you dare.
Through you.
Don't you fucking dare. Somehow the Chief returned. No, it wasn't his best game in the world. No. Was it his best game in the world? No. But he was getting into dangerous opportunities. He had multiple good instances of hold-up play. He had a couple really, really good challenges and dribbles and playthroughs. And if you watch these games, they are asking Vasquez to do a lot of different things now that they have Bouppenza and Acosta on the field together. And when the three of them are on the field together, they are frequently asking, and if you watch these games, Vasquez to drop in to the midfield or to move out wide. And just, I am imploring people before they start in on the Vasquez is having bad games, Vasquez is not playing well. I implore people to just watch what Brandon Vasquez is doing, because he is doing so much more and is showing off a type of positional flexibility that I am certain has teams in Europe salivating at being able to do different things with the ball. And this year from Vasquez, he has been a much more dynamic player than the dude last year who would donkey foot every touch. And unless he was fed the ball directly in front of goal, really didn't have a lot of other things to offer on this. So I want to put that out there. I want that to be out there right now. Watch what Vasquez is doing before you start laying into him as what's going on, what's wrong with him.
Yeah, if your scouting report on Vasquez is that he's just a big guy with an extremely heavy touch who taps in balls in front of goal, you got to watch. You got to watch more games. You know, he's been dropping back a lot, and his touch is. Does he have, the best touch on the team? No. But does he occasionally, does he make, really nice touches? And does he make things happen off of, his hold up play and receiving the ball and being part of the buildup? Absolutely.
Yeah. It was a great game for all three of Lucho, Vasquez, and Bouppenza, all doing different things to help this team win. Even in the first half, there was a one play where Charlotte had an odd man break, and Bouppenza is trucking back at a dead sprint back to play defense and stops Charlotte from having an opportunity to center the ball in, square the ball in, and have an opportunity on Celentano. It was just, they have dynamic players in all three of those players, Acosta, Vasquez, and Bouppenza. And they ask them to do different things at different times in the game to try and A, confuse the opposition, and B, change sort of the energy and who is expending the most effort on the field at any given moment. And all three of them were outstanding at various points in this game last night. It's just unfortunate that Vasquez didn't find himself on the score sheet for his efforts last night.
And I would just add that, yes, the defensive work that our forwards did last night, great. They asked them to do that stuff, and they come through and they work hard and do it. Bouppenza's run is a great example of that. The other part of that run I really enjoyed, is as soon as that Charlotte player lost the ball, Bupenza just straight shoved him to the ground.
Yeah. No, it was the pettiest end to that possession.
You made me run. You're done with this play. You're done for now.
And the dude laid on the field for a solid 30 to 40 seconds asking the ref, seriously? He did the full on shove. How are you not calling this? And I can only assume what was going through the ref's head was, you just got run down by a striker. I'm not gonna, your dignity is hurt already. I'm not gonna bail you out on that.
Right. No, I just on the Vasquez point, I still think his touch needs quite a bit of work, but I will agree the hold up play there, he is doing more in terms of second striker playmaking stuff.
You have to admit his touch has improved.
It has. I mean, especially from what we saw the first couple of years with him. Shades of, and maybe this is a bad thing, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Shades of peak Altidore from Vasquez's game. It was a solid hold-up striker in his day. I know Altidore wasn't a huge fan of playing that way, but he was very good at it.
But I mean, shit, if it gets Vasquez to a lower mid-table Premier League team, I mean, I think he would take that deal 1,000 times out of 1,000.
Yeah. I mean, at one point, Altidore, I think, had tied or gotten close to the all-time scoring record in the Eredivisie. So he certainly had his moments in Europe. But all of this leads up in the 46th minute to Alvaro Barreal stepping up to take a free kick fairly outside of the box. What was this? I'd say 25, 30 yards out. This was no gimme by any means. When you actually go back and watch this, I saw this in the moment as well. Haglund was very far outside, right on the edge of the box, on the outside edge of the box. And I thought, oh my God, this is set up so perfectly to lob it to Haglund to head it in to the mixer. That's clearly where this is going. There's no way they're going to take a shot on goal here. And I was wrong. Alvaro Barreal steps up and just postage stamps this goal. Just incredible. The goalkeeper has no idea what to do on this one. It's just one of the...
Oh, he knew what to do. That was run right at the referee and expect a bailout fucking call. Because that was a piss missile he had no chance of stopping.
Just
that was another
unbelievable.
Charge.
Yeah, right,
just a
exactly.
Move.
It was the classic, I've been embarrassed, I need to go complain. Clearly something was wrong here. Just an incredible goal on the heels of Barreal getting a nomination for the Puskás Award, the greatest goal of the past year, according to FIFA. Please go vote for that goal. You can find it on FIFA's website. You get to pick 3, pick whoever else you want, but Barreal should get your number 1 seed there. I also believe he's the first one on the list. You
know what that reminded me of a little bit in the moment when I was looking at that is the game that Cody Cropper played, where he conceded 5 goals on set pieces, and after every one, he was just screaming like a lunatic at someone.
Yes.
So, if you're a goalkeeper and you get absolutely undressed by a shot, you lose nothing by running up to the ref like you're losing your mind and just starting. You could be shouting nonsense. You could just be shouting syllables, or you could be shouting random words in a foreign language. As long as the visual on TV that the people see is that you're losing your mind at the ref, it's going to put the idea out there. You're going to gaslight some people into thinking something actually went wrong and that it's not your fault. So why not try that every single time?
I mean, that worked on this one. People have tried to go back and try to figure out what he was mad about. I pointed this out in the Discord, and Grayson, I think you agree with me on this one, that he spends too long being sad and disappointed that the goal happened before he begins protesting. I feel like if something was obviously wrong with the wall or sightline obstructions or offside or whatever they're going to try to complain, you would have been immediate about it, or even calling it out as the kick was happening.
So I think what they were complaining about, or I know, I'm pretty sure what he was complaining about was that Moreno was too close to the wall.
Okay.
And I think this is bunk for multiple reasons.
Okay.
First, a Charlotte fan shared a picture A Charlotte fan who thinks it was a good goal that should stand, by the way. So give this guy credit.
God bless him.
He showed a picture that was from a good angle where you could see that Moreno wasn't not like level with the wall. He was a bit closer to the ball than the wall. So it's not clear that he was even like within a yard of the wall to begin with. Okay. But let's assume that he was within a yard of a part of the wall. Well,
okay.
Charlotte used a split wall, which I think like you can't just decide wherever your players are is the wall. And then just decide
I am the wall.
So like you're saying Charlotte decided to build a wall, a big, beautiful wall. It's going to be a wall that no one is going to be able to get over. It's a glorious wall. We're going to leave a little gap in the wall, but it's okay. It's all right. It's still part of the wall, even if there's a gap in the wall.
You're very close to the right analogy. It wasn't too long after the 2016 election that the talking point of like the people who worked for the Trump administration was not we're going to build a wall. It was we're going to build wall.
Yes.
Meaning just like sections of wall in different places.
The controversy about metal bollards and do those count as walls? Yes. Yeah. So all of these players were various bollards that made up an amorphous wall.
And like, so you do a split wall, you leave that area open on purpose. I don't know what to tell you. Like, and third, clearly doesn't affect the play.
No.
And then fourth, which I think is like the most, probably the argument or discussion ender, frankly, is in free kicks. Like, yes, there's rules about how you have to set up on a free kick. Like, you have to be so far from the ball. You have to, set up a different way. But usually, but often those aren't followed on free kicks.
Right.
Because the players decide that they're not going to throw a fit about this specific thing because, like, for example, you might take a free kick even though the wall is too close because you see an opening and you'd rather have a quick restart than insist that the wall move back.
Right.
If you fuck that up, sorry, you've like your opportunity to raise an issue with the wall, is gone. Right,
Pre-kick,
you made a decision not to raise an objection during the setting up of the free kick. Having done so, you've waived. You can't go back in time. The time for Charlotte to throw a fit about where Moreno was in the lead up to the free kick. Right. Like run at the ball, run at the ref. Argue with him, say Moreno's too close, make the ref move Moreno if he's bothering you. But if you don't say anything about it, I'm going to assume you're fine with it.
Also, the ball gets over the wall. Once the ball gets over the wall is ineffective by rule. That there is nothing you could have done absent get taller players or get players that can jump higher that would have made the wall effective. So shut the fuck up.
Right. If they had kicked it right at Moreno jumped out of the way and had snuck through the wall there, then sure, maybe have an argument.
Or if Moreno jumped up and they did one of those free kicks like they tried in the World Cup back the last time, what was it, the Netherlands game, the U.S., where they tried to sneak a ball under the wall as everyone jumped. That's one thing. Barreal kicked the ball. Oh, it's phenomenal. It's the only thing better than that is when they lay the person down to stop that from happening.
Yes.
I love a good lay down in the wall. Once Barreal kicks that over the wall, there was nothing this guy, there was no chance to save this. If he knew it was coming, it would have still been a 50-50 shot. He could have saved that for where the placement on that was. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just shut up. It's loser. You are a loser for attempting to get that goal overturned in that manner.
And he did get a yellow card for his hard work there in dissenting Kalina there. So well done to him. It was a well-earned. I don't know what his contract is set up like, but I assume some of these guys get some sort of team penalty for getting yellow cards. So you got scored on and you lost $500 for getting a yellow card. I'm going to halftime, and I'll be honest with you, if we had gone in 0-0 while it was a dominant defensive performance and the chances were there, I would have felt a little uneasy, Chief, to your point, letting a bad team hang around. I always get the idea that, like, you give them too much confidence. You let them think they can beat you. That's how I always view, like, the NCAA tournament. It's like, if you're the 1 seed and a 16 seed, you got to squash them early. Because if you got, like, 10 minutes left in the game and it's a 4-point game, you gave them way too much confidence.
The problem, it's true in all sports. It's true in soccer the same way it's true in football, the same way it's true in basketball. And that is, when a game is level or when a game is close, the other team that you are playing can continue to play their game. They don't have to alter their tactics. They don't have to alter anything about what they're doing. They can continue to do what they think they do best in order to grind out a game. The minute you score on teams, goals change games. No shit, Sherlock. But the minute you go up on teams, they have to alter what they're doing, and they are no longer going to do what they think they do best. They are going to do what they think is going to most likely to produce a goal, consequences be damned. And that was the problem in the Orlando game, is that they had chances in Orlando. They didn't score against Orlando, and Orlando was able to grind the game out and play their game the entire time.
Yeah.
They go up 1 goal on Charlotte. Their game plan of coming in here and grinding out a 1-0 result out the window. And the game opens wide up. Game opens up, and that's bad news for teams that play FC Cincinnati. A wide open game against this attacking talent, you're going to lose that 99% of the time.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. coming right out of halftime there. 49th minute, 50th minute there. It is finally Lucho Acosta to Aaron Bupenza, and I think we can call this one the Cincinnati play. It's a mainly playing on the left side of the field rather than what happens in midfield, but it's mainly because Lucho Acosta starts out on the left side on the end line there, the touch line. So the play starts off with Barreal basically winning the ball back on the left side, passes over to Moreno, who passes it back over to Lucho. Lucho loses the ball for a brief moment, and Barreal sets him free down the left side. And it is off to the races for Lucho. Lucho goes down, beats a man, squares it to the middle of the box, and Bupenza is right there with the goal. And the scene that we've all been waiting for, Bupenza runs over to Lucho, gives him a great big hug. Everything is kumbaya. As we all knew all along, these guys are better together than they are apart. The sum is greater than their parts, or something along those lines.
So, was I the only one that thought they were trying way too hard?
No, I thought the same.
That, like, the reaction, it moved from genuine to we are making a show to everyone that we're cool.
Is that our fault? Did we do that?
if we did, what I would say to that to Lucho and Aaron is just play the game, guys. Don't try to do discourse.
No. Yeah. If discourse leads to this, keep it going. I got to see more.
It was, to me, it's when he puts his arm around, they put their arms around each other, and they're both hyping points at him. Like, this is my guy right here. If you didn't think this was my guy, you were clearly misreading all the very obvious signs I was giving to the contrary.
He is indeed my guy.
Maybe it's one of those things where, like, the better friends you are with somebody, the more you just, like, kind of insult them in conversation.
Yes.
And since we don't get their inside jokes, we don't. So
I guess from the outside looking in, we must be great friends by that standard.
Oh God, no! Bupenza gets on the score sheet here.
It was a hell of a strike too.
I love the finish.
The finish was so good. He had to beat a guy that was on the line defending the back post, and he just rockets the ball right over the dude's head into the top of the netting. It was such a good finish.
It's what he didn't do earlier in the game a couple of times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But all credit. That's exactly the finish you want to see in that moment.
That's a designated player finish.
Absolutely.
There are many players that can finish a shot. There are a few players in this league that can finish a ball over a man's head in the 3 to 4 feet of space that he can't get to defending the back post right there.
Yeah, and I believe it hit side netting, which is always great from the middle of the box there. Left-footed shot, classic. And yeah, it was so good. Bupenza leaves this game with, I believe, somebody did the numbers on this, a goal every 98 minutes. That comes from Paul in the Discord. That is
pretty good.
Pretty damn good, guys. That's a goal a game. That's
in MLS.
Yeah, in MLS. We are going to go ahead and subtract the entire Leagues Cup out of there for a moment. And yeah, in MLS, it looks very, very good. We're right at a goal a game, which
I think it was his best. I think it was his best game as a member of FC Cincinnati in terms of being a complete game. He was in very dangerous positions. His positioning was a lot better in terms of remaining onside and remaining available for the ball. He should have scored earlier in the game. It was only an incredible out of nowhere defensive effort by one of Charlotte's defensive backs that prevented a goal earlier. This was a world-class finish.
Sauce Gardner, defensive back for Charlotte.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah,
no one cares. It's NFL Sunday. The other thing, too, about this goal, too, is that I loved his positioning on this goal, where instead of overcommitting to the net and running into the defense, he held back a little bit to make himself available for the ball cutting back into the box. And we've seen a lot this year with FC Cincinnati that when they have played those square balls in, they've been behind guys because guys have overcommitted their runs and they're not stopping their run to where space is. And it was very, very just good positional awareness from Bupenza that leads directly to the goal.
Yeah. And in classic Cincinnati play fashion, I think if the ball misses either too short or too wide, Bupenza, Arias, and potentially Vasquez are there to clean up. Like this was, they were dead the second Lucho got into the box, basically. Like this was going to end in at least a 0.75 xG chance. Like this was heading in the best directions there. 50th minute to the 78th minute. I gotta be honest with you, I don't have a good memory of it because the Lucho Acosta goal pretty well Men in Black to me. I don't know if anybody has any moment before then they want to talk about.
Let's go talk about it. Let's get to it because this is
Lucho Acosta puts together one of the greatest goals I've ever seen in person. And I have to say one of because I was also there for the Barreal Open Cup goal, which was also just a phenomenal goal. But to me, and I'm not the first person to make this comparison, Obina Nwobodo has the greatest assist of all time. I don't know if you guys also picked up on that. Just a gentle rolling 10-yard pass over to Lucho, and then, I don't know, some other stuff happened.
He threw behind the line to Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase beat 25 guys.
Right. There's two great types of There's two great types of completion in the NFL. The first great completion is fuck it, Mike Evans down there somewhere, and you chuck it as far as you can. The other one is here's the 2-yard pass to Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase beats every other defender there. This play, the only thing I can compare it to seeing was if you're old enough to remember Barry Sanders when he was playing for the Detroit Lions, where guys flailing, trying to stop him, getting up, trying to stop him again, and flailing again. But not only was this a great goal from Lucho Acosta, I walked away from this feeling genuinely embarrassed for Charlotte defenders because these are professionals. These men are paid to play soccer, and they were ineffectively lunging for Lucho, attempting to dispossess him, and just looking like amateurs, like high school players, as he calmly evades every single one of them down the field.
Lucho was doing close-up magic on the boardwalk of Atlantic City, and they were watching his hands, trying to figure out where the card is, and he's just picking up their wallets and taking out their cash.
That is exactly it. No,
it wouldn't shock me if at the end of this goal he's got like everyone's Amex card that he's taken. He has taken their wallet, he has taken their soul, and you can't turn the internet on if you're one of these people that attempted to stop him.
I think I tweeted them out. It just ended the city of Charlotte. Like, it was just so unbelievably good. No, obviously I was teasing before. This was a almost frame for frame recreation of the goal of the century from Diego Maradona. And it was just incredible. It's a 60-yard run that starts with a nutmeg because of course it does with Lucho. Winds his way around, just continues to twist defenders left and right. He is zigging and zagging, and they think he is going the opposite direction every time. And my favorite piece of this is the Spanish call on Apple TV. The announcer there, whose name I do not have in front of me, and I apologize. I'm doing them a great disservice. But I don't know, when he gets about 30 yards out, 25 yards out, just starts yelling, "Golazo, golazo, golazo." Like, he is begging for this to be a goal because it is just everything that you want out of a single individual effort. He scores it. It's just an incredible shot past the keeper around two defenders. And I mean,
the announcer was shouting MVP.
MVP, well. Just screaming MVP. MVP. Oh my God. It is so freaking good. The other guy, especially in the Spanish goal, just starts laughing, which like is exactly all you can do.
On the English language commentary too, it's the Higginbottom's doing the game again, who I think is rapidly becoming my favorite color guy on the entirety of Apple TV. He just starts laughing as the goal gets scored. Like, there's nothing to say about it. That was absurd. It was the kind of goal, it looked like a Ted Lasso play. Because it would be what a comedy writer writes an amazing goal to look like before someone corrects them and say, soccer doesn't really work that way. Like, you don't beat five guys and then single-handedly score a goal. At some point you pass, or there has to be more motion. That doesn't work in real life. But here we found ourselves with our own Danny Rojas moment from Lucho Acosta.
I know Kevin made the Maradona comparison. I'm not sure I could think of like another great player that makes a run quite like Lucho does. Because you see some of these guys, some of these goals where guys are, beating 4 or 5 guys. They'll like make a move, and then that defender's beaten, and that defender never catches up.
Right.
Lucho is like chucking his little legs along, and these defenders get like 2-3 chances to get the ball from him, and they're like crowding around him, and it's not like he's not overwhelming anybody with his athleticism here. Although, like, I don't want to sell him short as an athlete. Like, his motor is incredible,
right?
But it's just
pure talent.
It's when you see like a great work of art, the artist wants you to see like all of the moves, but the fact is, like, you would never have been able to reproduce that.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's the paint by numbers where it's just like you draw the 2 circles, you draw the other circles, and the rest of the fucking owl. It's just like, it's like you can know all of the steps here. You can't recreate it.
I did see a headline.
Oh, please.
So maybe introducing into another topic. This is from let me check.
Let me guess.
Broadway World.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah.
It's with the team on the edge of a trophy and fans in the stadium going from 9 to 11. Acosta and Barreal ensure fans at home can come from away after twin towering golazos.
Oh, no. Broadway world, man. What will they come up with next?
Oh, Jesus.
But I think they hit on something, right? Like,
I wouldn't say that about this topic, but go ahead.
Well, they hit on a couple of important things, and maybe didn't hit something that somebody else hit.
Oh, no.
Lucho gets the ball at midfield and says, "Let's roll."
No, but I think they hit on something where it's like, can you think of a game when you take, and I don't, in like the Lucho goal for me, stand it's on its own. The Barreal goal against Pittsburgh,
yeah,
great finish. Lucho's goal is a goal by a great player. I'm not selling Barreal short here, but but Lucho, that's the goal of a guy who is being paid commensurate with his standing in the league.
Yeah,
but can you think of a game where we've had two goals of this quality?
No.
Top 10 goals in the same game?
A couple of those Brenner games where he had hat tricks. Neither of the goals Brenner had scored at any point were as good as either one of these goals. So no.
Yeah, the only game, and it's not even the quality of the goal, but the only game I can think of is like the two goals meant that much was literally FCC's home opener, like at Nippert in 16.
Oh, the back heel goal from who scored that one?
Oh no, I'm talking USL. The scissor kick and the Austin Berry diving header to win the game. Like they're good, skillful goals. They're not, obviously they weren't insane players, very good players. But yeah, that's the only game I can think of where it's like two really good goals, but it was almost all of that is the emotion attached to those goals, right? Like, yeah, like this was incredible.
It was almost there was almost a moment in this goal where there was an ontological issue with this goal. The goal exists because it must.
Yes.
Because at a certain point, when Lucho he's gotten deep into the attacking third, the play has taken so long. He's faked out so many people, nutmegged so many people that other attackers have caught up to where Baji and Bupenza were in the box. And it almost became at that point, he scored because he had to score.
Yes.
Because if he didn't score, the narrative about him taking that chance instead of laying off the two wide open guys would have been preposterous. So he scored because he had to score. It was the only other way that play could have ended other than disaster.
Yes. Chief, you'll appreciate this. It had to be me. Somebody else could have got it wrong. Like that is exactly what we just saw with this one. A point we've made on this pod
R.I.P.
before.
my man Morden.
I mean, genocidal maniac, but hey.
He fixed it in the end. It's okay.
It's a video game reference. It's okay, Grayson. You're not expected to know this one. We've talked about this before, where players run out of talent, right? Like on a good run into the box, and you beat like two defenders, and that third defender gets you. Lucho ran over half the length of the field and didn't run out of talent all the way to the end. And it was so great to finally see that. And yeah, I might have been in my seat screaming, "Pass it," because that play developed right in front of me. I'm in the upper deck, but I see it all happening. Like Baji and Bupenza were the most open individuals in the history of this sport. The entire universe was just, black hole sucked into Lucho's feet right there. The easiest layup for either one of them. But no, it was Lucho's goal.
Yeah, because we're not artists.
No,
we want him to pass because that's what he's supposed to do.
Right.
Because all we can think about is what one is supposed to do in a situation. We don't have the vision, but you have to create something truly spectacular.
Yes.
You have to give the artist the freedom to just do what only an artist can do.
Does this goal vindicate Grayson's position that Lucho was playing with the burden of not having a new contract? And now that he has a new contract, he feels free to fully, this is now witness the awesome destructive power of this fully armed and operational Lucho Acosta.
I mean, it was potentially not done until late Thursday. So it is possible that was what was happening there. I mean, it's scary to think that a relaxed, calm Lucho might look like on this league here.
Like he signs the contract, and as soon as he does that, it's all of a sudden when Neo starts seeing the Matrix code,
yes.
And all of a sudden, just like he's blocking the punches because they're coming in really slowly, that he's seeing the field that way because he's got all that extra money and that security in his back pocket.
I mean, I will say this is like, I guess it's not pessimist, it's the scared child inside of me, which is that like he scores this goal and yes, he's on the new deal. Yes, he loves the city, but like if Newcastle offers us $30 million, are we actually saying no? Like,
shut up.
I think Lucho has the opportunity, and it's really unfortunate that due to various circumstances, he was never like in a position earlier in his career to get off in this trajectory sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But, looking at the last 2 years that he's had and looking at the players that we have under contract for the next few years for most or all of Lucho's deal.
Yeah.
And then hopefully having Pat Noonan around that time and Chris Albright through that time, Lucho has the potential to be like Giovinco level
in
MLS for what he can do and the difference he can make in this league. And
he also
it seems like he's also, sorry to continue, but it also seems like he wears the responsibility well.
Yeah.
He has an opportunity,
always, but now, today, I think he does.
He has an opportunity too to become a sort of a poster child for what is possible if you remain in MLS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He never had that opportunity. I think he was in Liga MX for like a year with Atlas.
One season, yep.
Yeah, and by all accounts, it was like a pretty miserable experience, and it was just kind of what he fell into after his time in DC did not go well.
Yeah, he just needed to go somewhere and just, get away from the DC situation after the way they screwed him on the PSG deal. But now he signed here long term. He's on an opportunity to he's exercising an opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. He has ambitions to play for the national team, which if he keeps playing the way he's playing this year, he's going to make himself, the conversation is going to become inevitable around Lucho Acosta getting an opportunity with the men's national team. Although I say that like Greg Berhalter doesn't just routinely ignore good players that aren't his players. But setting that aside, there is a real opportunity for Lucho Acosta not only to become the face of this franchise, of this city, but to become a player that can be someone that MLS points to say, if you want to play here, you can play at a very high level.
Yeah.
You can make very good money, and you can still contribute meaningfully at an international level and make a name for yourself playing this way. And frankly, MLS needs a few more guys like that. They need a few more guys, maybe hopefully not because they got screwed out of a deal to Europe, but a few more guys to say, you know what? I'm past going to Europe. I don't need that. I'm happy here. And that raises the level of play in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think MLS is really showing its stripes in like younger players, like identifying some talent early, letting them get opportunities to burst on the scene, and earning caps with pretty good national teams like your Thiago Almada, your John Duran. I would throw Yerson Mosquera, even though he didn't appear for Colombia, into that conversation. And then it's also shown an ability to get players from Europe who are still in a really good part of their career.
Yes.
Like
Matt Miazga.
Yeah. Ricky Puig.
Yeah.
But guys who are still, potentially getting
Timu
into
Pukki.
guys who proved what they could do abroad and are still in a good position to be well respected globally. And what it maybe needs a better job, it needs more examples of, is what you're describing. Like someone like Lucho Acosta, who spends basically their whole prime in Major League Soccer and is still recognized as, no, this is a real top quality player. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think the ship has sailed for him with Argentina.
Yeah.
But if he can get his citizenship and get in the U.S. men's national team, I think that even itself would be somewhat of a proof of concept.
Yeah. It's almost frustrating that he's Argentinian. Like if he was Chilean, like he could become a star at a World Cup if the Chilean national team was successful with him. Like you could see him becoming an international star.
He could get into a lot of South American teams right now.
Right.
It's just Argentina is uniquely stacked at his position.
Yes.
And they're not looking at a 29-year-old who hasn't been in their system the whole time.
Like he would be competing with five guys, that'll be in the Champions League semifinals, like that's the level of competition. And Brazil is the only other one like that as well.
Dybala can't get in the Argentinian national team.
It's insane when you look at France always has like a good, here's the fourth French team. You're like, that team would win the Champions League. No, it's one of those things that if there are big changes afoot for MLS, it would be that Acosta is able to do this because FCC has the ability to pay him lots of money, that there is a path for him here. And you can see a player like Barreal, we all say Barreal needs to go to Europe. He's maybe too good for MLS, especially for his age. He's 23. But if there's a pathway for FCC to pay Barreal $3-4 million a year and it doesn't destroy the roster build, you could probably keep Barreal in MLS his whole career, because I don't know how much he's going to be making in Europe necessarily right away. He can take a gamble on himself on a mid-table team, on a league that's maybe not the greatest, and then hope he plays his way up. But MLS could start developing a pipeline of players like this and develop 5, 6, 7 Luchos per team. That's
especially South American players,
yes.
Especially South American players,
yep.
Where, the dream is go to Europe because the dream has always been to go to Europe. And
because
also because that's where the money is. The money is. And if you can figure out a way to make it so that you don't have to give these players up, or, to another extent, that keeping an Alvaro Barreal doesn't stop you also from being ambitious with going and getting other players that are top quality players as well. So you're not forced into a choice of, do I have to offer Alvaro Barreal a designated player spot,
right,
in order to keep him here and keep his interests here? But yeah, South American players, Central American players, there should be a push to make MLS a first choice league for those players. You don't have to leave this hemisphere in order to go and play, or this sort of continental area in order to go and play.
And it's a little frustrating when the league can't hold on to good players who are good enough to be in these top leagues, but are not good enough to have a nailed on starting spot with those teams over there.
Yeah.
And find themselves getting sitting the bench or getting limited playing time, getting shuffled around on loans. One example is Alex Callens, from who played center back at NYCFC last year. He's sitting the bench for, I think, Girona. In La Liga, and it's because there's not roster flexibility to pay a free agent center back who was one of the best center backs in the league, enough to make it worth his while for him to stay in MLS versus ride the pine in Spain.
God, I love that Lucho's goal is so good. It makes us get existential about the future of the league. Like that's that's where that goal was. Because I this is a conversation for another time, but I see a lot of people complaining about like especially the Saudi money coming into the clubs and poaching a lot of talent from Europe, and a lot of people saying like, this is so stupid. All these players are going for the money. And I've really enjoyed seeing this online, especially on Reddit, where everybody has flares and where you can say like what country or what team you support, and all the South American fans being like, yeah, Europe, it sucks watching all of your best players go over to Europe because the kid from Buenos Aires always dreamed of playing for Wolves. You're right. Like that kid always dreamed of winning the FA Cup, the Emirates FA Cup.
Yeah. You know where people in South America love, where they circle it as a place they want to end up living, is fucking Newcastle. Okay.
It's like, this is
but all of a sudden an oil state buys the goddamn club, and it may as well be fucking Bora Bora. Like,
right. It's just like, I don't know. These guys want to go to Europe because sure, that's the best competition, but let's not kid ourselves. That's where most of the money is, and MLS is uniquely positioned to do that in I'll be generous and say an ever so slightly less complicated way than maybe Saudi Arabia is doing.
Yeah, so our point is that Lucho's goal was so good.
That
it has broken the league.
Yes. It does make you start asking bigger and bigger questions.
Yeah. It was such a good goal that the entire business model needs to be reimagined.
I mean,
and we all knew.
I'm not kidding about that point.
We all knew these conversations would be forced when an Argentinian scored a banger.
It makes you think big things about this league. There were a few more minutes left in this game. It doesn't really matter. Charlotte threw everything at us, and nothing changed. The defense held just fine. I did like that Acosta got to sub out in this one. That was nice.
My only gripe about that is I am begging, like, okay, all 12 of you that listen to this podcast.
Yes.
I need each of you to tell two friends and tell two friends to tell two friends and move this on down the line. When Acosta is over the ball for a corner kick, when he's being subbed out, the chant is MVP.
Yep.
Yell loudly at anyone that tries to make that into FCC.
Yeah.
It's always, in most cases, in 99.9% of cases, it's club over player, club over everything. In this one moment, the vibe needs to be MVP. Give the man his flowers. Let the league know there's only one choice for this.
I think people need to be, and maybe this is something we can go in more depth in part 3, because I don't want to derail this, but 100% club over player nearly every time.
Yes.
But we are in a particular point in the season where this guy just signed a long-term deal with the team, took out a full page ad in the newspaper, and he's in the midst, he's running down the end of an MVP chase. Just like, I'm not trying to say like you need to like modify the chance and in what we're saying, like to game action the whole time. But this is a major narrative.
Yeah.
This is a big narrative, right? MVP is what we say for Lucho.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh. Oh, man. What a negotiating tactic that ad was, huh?
Yeah. Because the deal wasn't done before that ad was written. We all know that.
Who knows? This game ends 3-0. FC Cincinnati sitting pretty in the table. Is there anything else we want to touch on with this game? I have one point, but I will open the floor if anybody else.
I got another headline if you want to make a mark. I'm just kidding.
This one in InfoWars. It was no.
Lucho's goal was an inside job.
This is in the Epic Times.
It's a website called RT. It turns out Charlotte actually won the game by multiple goals.
Oh, look at him go! I don't know what I was watching. No, I've actually got 2 points. 1 point, I thought this was interesting. Blue on blue matchup. Have we finally left the days of black and white TVs? Are we allowed to have the same color shirts on? I mean,
Color Rush changed everything. Thank
really
you,
did.
Roger Goodell.
I thought that was interesting. Second question, maybe my memory just wasn't great, and I am not attempting to throw anybody under any bus here. I have to mention it's a very difficult job, but the field looked real bad. There
was a U.S. women's national team game on Thursday, so they had just played a full soccer game there, like 2 days.
Okay, is that it? Because it looked like more, but I don't know. Maybe the turnover time over like the course of a week, the field looks very different. It looked like they'd been hosting like a bunch of high school football games on that field, and I was not aware of them. But
how dare you besmirch our great ground crew?
Look, I'm not trying to cast aspersions. I'm just saying I didn't remember the field looking that rough, and maybe
look, it's one thing to play fast and loose with the laws of the game. It's another thing to play fast and loose with the tactics and with the body language reading. It is a step too far to play fast and loose with a grass management. Okay.
Look, I live out in the burbs, all right, and by virtue of that, I am somewhat of a grass expert. No, I've got nothing. I don't know. I guess
college, and by virtue of that, I am somewhat of a grass expert.
Kevin's like, I'm not that kind of grass expert, but I do own a pair of Air Monarchs, and I have kids, so...
Folks, the all whites come out until they become the white and greens as they get mowed through the summer. No, I think that does it for our version of this game. I can't believe... Yeah, I don't know. The defense held strong without Matt Miazga. It was great. No yellow cards. Obviously, no red cards. Well done, everybody. Just thumbs up all around. Assuming everybody stays healthy, the next game, we should have everybody. Might this be the very first game that we get to start the game with a full 11? I'm trying real hard not to jinx anything. Not that I believe in them, but man, it'd be a bummer if that happened. But
that would be the expectation.
That is fantastic. Okay, that does it for part one. Part two, we relive the game all over again, but with this time, Tommy G, voice of FC Cincinnati. I think you're going to enjoy this one. On the other side of the interview, we do a little table watching, and as we are recording, we know the results of the Miami-Orlando match. We can give you the full exact scenarios of what the Shield clinch looks like. Enjoy this interview. We'll catch you in part 3. This episode is also brought to you by Cincy Shirts. Look, you know Cincy Shirts. You love Cincy Shirts. They've been with FCC from the beginning, and we here at the Postcast, we're just huge fans of their work. They were very early sponsors of the Postcast here, and we have always enjoyed their work. If you head on over to cincyshirts.com, that's Cincy with a Y, shirts.com, and check out using the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, you will get 10% off your order, and you let them know that we sent you. Like, they have MLS and MLSPA licensed FCC gear available online and at their 2 retail locations in Hyde Park and Fort Mitchell. If they don't have your size on the shelf, they can print you one on the spot. That is a fantastic feature and something that I have used as well. So again, special thank you to Cincy Shirts. Head on over to their website or check the link down below in the description for the promo code ThePostCincy for 10% off your next order. And a huge thank you to Cincy Shirts. Oh, joining us here, part 2, is a very special guest. I don't even know why I introduced him, because if you're listening to this podcast, you've heard this man's voice for many, many years. This is the true voice of FC Cincinnati, one Tommy G. Tommy, how you doing this evening?
Fellas, good to see you. Glad to be back. It's been a little while, so I was worried that maybe my most recent appearance got me banned, or the ratings weren't very good or something. So I was low on the list to be invited back, but just took a banger of a night, I guess, to do it. But I'm happy to be here. Life is good. Good vibes this weekend at TQL Stadium.
Oh my God. No, Tommy, first off, you're always welcome back. Second off, I feel like people are more likely to get banned by appearing on our show rather than, performing poorly here. So
Fair enough.
I'm so glad you're able to be here, because look, my just like pure excitement of that game and leaving that game, I'm still not over it. Like, I still have like the jitters from that game. Maybe this is just a me thing. Maybe this is like a double check for me, but was that, I don't know, the best FC Cincinnati game we've ever seen? A top 5 performance from this club? I
think it's top 5.
Yeah.
I think, there's other great nights where the team has put together performance. Like, one that sticks out in my mind is that Philadelphia game at home last year because of the opponent. And obviously there's endless storylines when the Union and FC Cincinnati play. Yeah. Charlotte, maybe not the most formidable opponent, at least at where they stand in the table. But look, this is a team that had coming in 9 draws in their last 13 games. So they were in competitive games. They only won one of those 13, but they only dropped 3 of them. So look, they've been competing, and they've been competing with some of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. So it wasn't a layup going in that FC Cincinnati was going to win, but they put it together. And sure, did it take a little while? Were there a couple of chances in the first half that probably should have been finished and probably should have been goals? Absolutely. But in the end, you get the banger from Alvaro to give you that boost going into the dressing room. And then, and Kevin said it at halftime. He said, look, it's what I said at the beginning of the broadcast now applies to the beginning of the second half. Like, come out and find a way to have a really quick start and get a goal right away. And if you do that, then Charlotte might not have much fight. And you saw Boup get his goal, and then it was kind of over from there. But I think, I don't think tension's the right word, but maybe a little bit of extra anxiety the last couple of weeks. You look at the game notes, and it's funny. And our fantastic PR staff, and you guys know John and my boy Patty over there. I give them, and Evan does a great job. And I gave them some feedback at the beginning of the year and asked for them to kind of line out each month, but with the record. And then goal differential, because I saw another team did it, and I said, it's kind of cool. I think it was St. Louis. And I said, I can look and be like, in April, they were really good and went 4-0-0 and had a +7. It's just easy. I don't have to try to do that math on the fly. So they added it. So last night I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, they haven't won in September. This is egregious. Now there was
how dare they?
There was an international break there. So, right. And it wasn't that many games, but it felt like it had been forever. And I think everyone just needed exactly what happened last night. Like, perfect weather, perfect game, perfect result. Almost every other result fell in favor of the orange and blue. So it was a good night.
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind is going. Was like, this game sort of exercised a lot of demons there. Like, we've seen this team struggle down the home stretch here. They're still, winning, getting points and all of that, but it hasn't been as smooth as it was in the summer. And then, of course, the Lucho Bupenza relationship just hadn't quite clicked up until, I think it's fair to say, this game. Did we see the beginning of a beautiful relationship?
I hope so. You hope so, right?
Was the tension overblown in the fan base?
Yeah, 100%. 100% overblown. And I was trying to explain it to somebody during the week, and I said, look, you have a guy like Lucho. We all know how badly he wants to do well and score goals, and he wants to connect every pass, right? Whether it's in the midfield, in the final third, inside the 18. He's frustrated if a pass isn't connected, whether he's sending it or whether somebody else is sending it. And that's just because he's a competitor. That doesn't mean he's mad at Brandon or he's mad at Aaron. And sometimes I think, sure, his body language may imply as much. but he wants to see this team score 4 million goals a night. And therefore, if, passes aren't connected, they can't score 4 million goals, and he's frustrated. Right. Sure, the chemistry had to come together with these guys to succeed in the way that we saw last night. And last night probably should have been 6-0 or 7-0, to be honest, with the opportunities that the team set up. I mean, I think I laughed at halftime. The expected goals were 2 for FC Cincinnati to 0.05 for Charlotte. I asked Kevin, do you get the 0.05 for getting off the bus? Because I don't know that Charlotte had done much else at that point. But yeah, I think a little bit overblown. Look, I've watched these guys work in training and see the ability of Aaron Bupenza in training and what he can do. You can see what he's done with his other teams professionally. It will come with time, but look, it's happened pretty quickly here. And you're asking in the middle of a season in a team that already had great chemistry and a lot of really good things going on, you're dropping in another very talented player. So sure, Aaron's disappointed if attacking opportunity fizzles out, just as Lucho is, just as Brandon is. And Don Badi said last night he was going to be really mad at Lucho if he didn't finish that goal because he literally had 2 guys standing to his left wide open. You and I could have run out on the pitch and tapped that ball in with the amount of space there was when he went down there. But of course he finished it. So they all are competitors and they all want to score. And so look, those are the kind of guys I want fighting for my club.
Yeah.
How important do you think is it to Lucho to not just score a bunch of goals, but also to put on a show?
Oh, I think he's an entertainer, right? I think that's part of his personality. I don't think that's the priority, but I think he knows that when he's scoring and when he's making plays. I mean, look, I don't know how he pulled that bike off last night. He was in so much traffic. And Kevin and I kind of looked at each other and I didn't clip it today because of course it was saved, but Kevin's reaction, he kind of yelps in the moment when it happens because it was so almost unexpected because of the traffic around him.
Yeah.
And yet he still got it off and sure, Kalina makes the save, but he by nature of the way he plays, he's an entertainer and he wants to put on a show. And look, it's a storybook. And that's what Pat said in our post-game interview. Because I led with a question about Lucho. You had to. He signs his contract extension. He has the ad in the paper. He's here through at least 2026. And then and it's Noche Latina on top of that, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you had that amazing halftime performance by the Mariachi band. If you didn't catch that, it was amazing. I hope they do that every game, honestly. I thought it was awesome. I'd be all in on that. And I can't even really pay attention, but during the breaks, we were definitely singing up in the booth during the commercial breaks. It was awesome. But so it's Noche Latina. You know what I mean? It's he's fresh off his contract extension. He knows he's closing in on the MVP. His team is closing in on the supporter shield. Everything is falling into place. And Kevin kind of called it about 10 minutes before. He's like, Lucho really wants a goal tonight. This guy won't be happy if he walks off the pitch. Even if FC Cincinnati went 4-0, Lucho is going to be ticked off that he didn't get a goal. And I mean, look, the magic he dialed in was just something at another level.
So I want to talk about you as a broadcaster with Lucho Acosta. Are you always on edge that any move he makes could start a goal scoring opportunity? Because it feels like he creates chances out of absolutely nowhere sometimes.
It is, and it's interesting because, whoever, and this year we've had 3 different guys in the booth with me, with Omar and Jeff Aronowitz, and obviously Kevin McCluskey, my longtime partner, and I've loved working with all 3 of them. They all have 3 very different styles, and Kevin and I have the great chemistry that we've had for 200-plus games together. But, it's the type of thing where, at times I'll look at all 3 of them and be like, I need you to shut it. Shut up. Stop talking. Because Lucho has the ball and it might be at midfield. Imagine last night, if Kevin was talking about something, I would have missed half that buildup of him skidding by their entire defensive half of the pitch.
Right.
Because Kevin was talking about whatever. And that would have been okay. But it's if Lucho has a ball in the final third, mute my broadcast partner, turn off their headset. I haven't started instructing the engineers, but that's the reality, right? And look, they're all good. They'll step out of the way, but you're right. You have to be ready to go, or he's going to look up with a ball in midfield and ping it on to the foot of Bupenza or ping it on the foot of Brandon Vasquez or somebody else. He seemed to be picking out Santi Arias over and over again last night. So, you have to be locked in and not looking away or not taking a sip of water.
Yeah. I think, debatable whether or not this was the best goal or the best game for FC Cincinnati, but I think it's indisputable that we had the two best goals in the same game for FC Cincinnati. I can't think of a pair of goals that was as good as Barreal and Lucho's last night. I don't. Is there anything that comes to mind in terms of a tandem in one game?
Not two in a game like that where you just jaw dropping, right? Because Barreal's was perfectly placed. I mean, Kalina lost his mind for Lord only knows what reason, but trust me, when I sign off with you guys, I'm sending an email to pro referees just asking because I want to be educated, right? Was there something there? That was one of the most experienced referees they have. He's been in the league 21 years. He's almost 300 appearances, as the head official in Major League Soccer. I thought he did a fantastic job in the match. So, and pro referees will be very honest with me with they're always great. Yes, a mistake was made or no, not, this is when they'll explain it. So I want to know, I don't think there was a mistake there. Kevin and I talked a little bit about this morning. I saw, some type of implication about the wall and Junior Moreno being too close, but they had the wall split. So I think that Kevin kind of felt like that was the reason there was no whistle, for impropriety, improper conduct there by Junior Moreno. But either way, it doesn't matter. It counted. And Alvaro Barreal has, one of, I don't know if it's his best of the year because he had that pretty remarkable goal that's been nominated for a pretty prestigious award against Pittsburgh at the other end of the stadium. But, he hits that ball and then and I've watched it, I don't know how many times today, right? Lucho picks that ball up in the midfield and and at one point you hear Kevin go, oh. Kevin realizes what's happening, and I see Don Baggi to his left, and there's nobody on him, and Aaron Bupenza's a step to the left of Baggi, and there's nobody on him, and I'm like, there's no way. And as much as I appreciate everybody who tweets at me and asks for our radio calls and that, and I love it, and I'll put them together and I'll tweet them and put them out there, go listen to the Apple Spanish one if you haven't heard it.
Yes.
He's calling Golazo.
It's so good.
He's calling Golazo 40 yards out. That guy's a legend. Oh, he's great. He hugs me every time I see him. But if you haven't listened to it, I meant to retweet it, but like I said, I've been running around all day and I'm gonna retweet it tonight. But he's calling Golazo before he's even taking a shot. What an unbelievable vision to have that. And then it was. And just that effort, like you said, it was storybook. On a night when Lucho was determined, he performed. And all you could do is start engraving that MVP trophy, because if he's not MVP and if Pat's not coach of the year, then there's something very, very wrong going on.
Yeah. Before we move on off that goal, I do have to ask, though, when you're calling that, after you call the goal, do you stop and think to yourself, oh, man, they're going to replay this one a lot in this club's history going forward?
Maybe not in the moment. You definitely realize that's a really special moment. I think we knew it on the Barreal blast against Pittsburgh. You're like, geez, what did he just do? I think that one you kind of figure out straight away. But yeah, you knew both of those last night were big time efforts, and the Lucho one is just Barreal, I watch him in training, he hits shots like that all the time, right? But to do what Lucho did and to beat that many guys is a different story.
Just insane. No, and I'm so glad you brought up the Spanish call, because I was going to ask you, have you ever called a goal 30, 40 yards before it ever really materialized?
I wish I could. That's amazing. I'm going to ask him about it. I see this guy all the time. He does a lot of our games. And I don't know the Spanish guys as well as the English guys, obviously, but he gave me a huge hug in the hallway yesterday, and I'm gonna congratulate him, because that was brilliant. I don't know what he was talking about except for the Golazo part, but it was brilliant.
Oh gosh.
So I gotta ask
please.
Tommy, talking about Lucho and the special night of everything. You've been around this team since the very start. What does it mean, big picture, for this organization to have Lucho Acosta locked in for this long-term deal to where he is going to, probably by the end of this contract, own most of the records for this club? What does that mean for the organization that they got this deal done?
I mean, it puts him into the opportunity, I would say, to be like the legend of legends from the club. Like, we can all call people legends, right? And that term gets tossed around a little bit. And certainly there have been legendary people who have come through, and legendary people who maybe play for the club right now and all that. But you're talking about, like, if he does this for whatever through 26, 27 and see what he looks like at that point, you know what I mean? Maybe he's around for another year or two. Like, he leaves as the greatest FC Cincinnati player, you know, of the era, and will hold that title of the greatest FC Cincinnati player of all time for a while, you know, with the numbers that he will accumulate. And imagine that he gets this citizenship situation sorted out and plays for the U.S. men's national team, which I don't think is a wild thought. And he could be a hero beyond the city of Cincinnati, right? Building into that 2026 World Cup. So, you know, how incredible would that be for him to become a U.S. citizen, to get involved with the team and be a guy at a position they've needed to create going into a World Cup here in the United States. Like, you talk about storybooks, there's another one. You know, if only I knew somebody could make a documentary about all this. But, you know.
The Lucho documentary would be incredible. And I mean, at this point, very well deserved, if not overdue. But no, I think that's a great point, Chief, that he is kind of the first player of the MLS era that, like, I think every fan is desperate to keep. Like, it's been a while since we've had a guy get to this point in his contract, and especially the early days, we weren't happy to see him go, let alone, you know, desperate to have him come back. And I think Lucho's a good example of how far this club has gone.
I'll be honest, I said Kevin and I talked about in the post game last night. I said, Kevin, let's go back to the end of 2021. We sat in this booth after the last home game. Tonight we're here talking about 13 wins in 15 games. We were talking about one win in 17 games. I mean, this is 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we're talking about one stinking win in 17 home games at TQL Stadium. And honestly, like, would if the four of us were sitting there that night recording this podcast, right? Like, will we be talking about Lucho's going to leave as a legend of FC Cincinnati? Like, no, nobody would have said that. And that's not disrespectful. You weren't seeing it at that point.
Yeah.
And it's not that we looked at the beginning of the 2022 season either and said, this is a guy that's going to be here through 2026. It was like, all right, you're the new head coach. Let's see how this works out. And if it doesn't work out, then maybe Lucho doesn't work out in Cincinnati. And you know what I mean? Chris Albright and Pat will go get their guy. But he proved to be their guy. And so I give him all the credit in the world, you know, that he proved to want to be here.
Yeah.
And, you know, didn't also get this MVP run and run upstairs to Chris and say, all right, well, start seeing where you could sell me on to either. You know, like it was, no, I want to be here. My family's happy here. My wife is happy here. You know, my kids are right there. I run over and give them a hug after every goal I score, which is a lot of extra running right now. But, you know, like good for him. Like he's happy in Cincinnati, Ohio. And there's probably a bunch of other MLS clubs that are sorry they didn't give him that chance.
Yeah. DC United's got to be kicking themselves to see Lucho and Junior Moreno tearing it up for this team right now.
Yeah, they didn't even want Junior Moreno anymore. So, no. I mean, what a get by Chris Albright that was. Remember how close he got him to the season too? It was like, we don't really know where Junior's going to fit in. Like, we'll figure it out. He just got here. He's training with the team for like 5 days. We'll see how this goes. He might be a depth piece. Well, he's been a regular starter, so props to Junior.
I'll end you on this one here, Tommy. If Grayson and I have our math right, which is very questionable at all times, I believe FC Cincinnati has clinched a CONCACAF Champions Cup berth.
That's what I've heard.
Are you ready for away days to Haiti and or Panama and or Jamaica?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if we're going to Jamaica, I think I know who my broadcast partner is. I don't care who's available. I mean, if it's Jamaica, you better believe Omar's going. The big cat gets to go on a trip because, I need a tour guide if I'm going to Jamaica. So if it's Jamaica, then yeah. I mean, look, that's awesome. I mean, the season ticket member event tonight, I kind of joked that I romanticize about drawing Saprissa.
Yes.
With the thought that Kendall will still be involved with the team come January, February, when that starts to crank up. But if that's the case, that would be amazing, right? Kendall gets opportunity to come back to Cincinnati, play at TQL Stadium. It's 2 legs there at the beginning, right? And then I'd be more than happy to go down to Costa Rica if that opportunity presents itself. Also means the off season, because we're planning to be here around till December 9th, right? Like that's the idea.
Right.
Off season is going to be awfully short. Merry Christmas, and then you turn around and training camp starting. But look, it's just another step in building this club and opportunities for guys to play and more minutes, more games. But it also then puts the onus on Chris Albright to have the right bodies in there, to have the right depth. Because look at Philadelphia's in a good spot now. They're not going to win the Supporters Shield, but they're going to have a good seed, probably one of those top 4 seeds in the Eastern Conference. But when we saw them in April, they weren't in a great place because they were trying to win CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is the right move. Seattle last year missed the playoffs for the first time in club history. They'll be back in this year, even though everybody wanted Brian Schmetzer fired earlier this year. They're going to be back in as like the 3 seed. I checked last night. I was like, well, I'm glad they didn't fire Brian Schmetzer because he's going to get them in as the 3 and probably make a run. But they prioritized it the year before, and therefore the regular season didn't end very well, and they missed the playoffs for the first time in club history. So certainly, Chris and Pat know what goes in to being ready for that, and we'll be ready. And I can't confirm your math, but that was the talk in the press box last night before the game. And I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of focused on the game and the Supporters Shield, but somebody sent me a text or something, and I didn't get the text 100% confirming it. Right. So, like I said, I got some emails to send, and I got a lot of things. I got to check in on some referee decisions. I got to check in on some math. I got to check in on this Miami game and see where they're at and how that one ends. And if that one ends, then does Toronto win, clinch everything, which seems like that math is right. So, it's exciting. It's exciting that we're talking about this and not 9 straight losses to end the year or 1 home win. And, I told somebody like a month ago after a game, it was probably after the Atlanta game, and I was like, I'm unapologetic about celebrating each and every one of these wins. Like whether it's 3-0 over Charlotte and New York City, who aren't very good, or it's come from behind 2-1 against Atlanta on the road, or it's 3-2 against Columbus and rubbing it in all their face. Like, I don't care. Like, I called so many losses for 3 years that this is amazing and it's awesome. And like I said, I hope we have a bunch more wins to call and a couple big parties planned.
And just one question though, is there a small part of you that hopes they don't clinch the Shield till they come home?
No, I mean, look, if there's an opportunity to do a Saturday night in Toronto, then I hope there's no part of me that would hope for a draw to be like, ooh, then we can win on Wednesday. Because listen, look, I was actually with our old buddy Jimmy McLaughlin earlier today, and we were talking about it. And we were talking about how they won, what was that, at Richmond in 2018. Yeah. And then it turned around and, then the next home game, and it was funny, and we kind of laughed about this, like, they rotated the whole team against Indy. Indy's trying to get into playoffs. We rotated the whole team and beat them like 3-0, right?
Forgot about that.
Right. Like none of the starters played, but that's what happens when you have the highest payroll in the USL and, 24 starters or whatever it was. But we rotated the whole team, still, beat Indy handily, and then had that huge party at Nipper Stadium. So I would imagine, without getting too carried away, that if there is a clinching scenario in Toronto and the clinch happens in Toronto, I'd imagine that Canadian champagne tastes just as good as the American champagne. And, that then they will turn around and come home and do some type of celebration in the stadium after the game, on the 4th, I would think. But look, we'll see what happens. If Orlando drops any points and it's on Saturday and Toronto's in last place in the East. So, hopefully a positive result. But look, it's MLS and strange things seem to happen every week. So you can't just show up on any given night and just expect you're going to get through it. But the fact, again, that we're having these conversations, that we're worried about how we're going to celebrate clinching the supporter shield is a pretty great problem for us to have.
Oh, Canadian champagne is Labatt Blue. Everyone knows this.
The Canadian champagne of beers, yes. That's right. My God. Well, Tommy, so thankful you were able to join on such short notice. Thank you so much. And hopefully we get to hear you call the Supporter Shield winning team here very, very soon.
Soon enough. That sounds great. I'll be back anytime. Maybe do a playoff run here or something, but let me know. Always a pleasure, fellas.
Would love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Be good.
Do you want $25 to the Empanadas box? Well, folks, let me tell you how to get that. If you go to twitter.com, go to the Post Cincy's page, and you find the tweet where we sent out the link to this show, in particular the first one, the big one that we do, like it, retweet it, and tag somebody in a quote tweet there of who you would like to take with you to the Empanadas box for a good little old-fashioned lunch date. You will be entered to win a $25 gift card. We are doing this on the Sunday episode, so please, if you want a chance to win $25, find this tweet, share it, and tag a friend as well, and you will be in the running. We will announce the winners on the following Monday on who won that gift card, and we will get in touch with you on that one. So again, huge thanks to the Empanadas Box for sponsoring this episode, and find this tweet, like it, retweet it, tag a friend. You'll be entered for a chance to win $25 to the Empanadas Box. Back to the episode. Part 3, we are back, and again, huge thanks to Tommy G for joining. I know he was doing the team meet and greet earlier today, and we don't typically add guests on the fly. We're actually, I guess, weird in the podcasting world of like trying to book people days, if not weeks in advance. So it
felt like we were all in the group chat earlier today talking about what a big win it was, and we were thinking, man, that Lucho goal was really cool. And then we all sort of came to the same conclusion. I bet it'd be fun to have the guy on that actually called that just to find out what it was like in the moment. Because I asked him the question, and you got to know, as that run is happening, I got to be on my game, because this call is going to get repeated a lot in a lot of team videos and a lot of team promotion. You can't have a down moment right there.
The only thing missing was calling Lucho a cosmic kite. That would have been just put it well over the top there. So, no, huge thanks to Tommy G coming on. And now we get the fun part of the Shield race, which is looking at and therefore judging all of the other teams, all of the other scenarios. How can they catch us? Who do we need to root against? Grayson, I believe it is as simple as we need to watch 2 matches this weekend. But tell me, what
I think
what
it's
will it
simpler
take?
Than that.
Oh, talk to me.
Win, and the Shield is ours.
Boom. The only thing I was mentioning is, and again, I'm taking the second hand because I'm not sitting here doing math. If Orlando were to lose or draw, that would be enough as well.
No.
Okay, that is
because
wrong. Okay.
So there's theoretically 4 teams that could catch us.
Okay.
One of them is, I think we just toss them aside. It's St. Louis.
Okay.
They are capped at 62 points. So if they tied us, if we lose out, and they would have the wins tiebreaker, but that means we have to get 0 points and they have to get every point the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel likely. Okay.
Oh, point of clarification, because a lot of people will not know this, and that's fine to not know this because it's super weird and kind of stupid. In the Supporter Shield race, the first tiebreaker is not goal differential. Don't look at that. The first tiebreaker is total number of wins. Then it's goal differential. So there's that. Okay, continue.
So know that. Don't forget
Just
that.
know that.
Yeah. So there are 3 teams who can get above 62 points.
Okay.
Okay. Orlando, who just tied Miami tonight.
Woo.
Orlando can get to 63 points.
Okay.
Okay. Philly and New England can both get to 64 points.
Okay.
Okay. Something to note here. Orlando plays New England. Philly also plays New England.
So
That
they
means
all can't win out.
that means they all can't win out, which does mean that we have clinched top 3 in the East, and nobody else but St. Louis in the West can even get to our points, which means we've clinched top 4 in Major League Soccer Supporter Shield standings, which means we have clinched Champions League. I would note that even if Philly, New England, and Orlando could all get all the points the rest of the year, Philly's already qualified, so
We would get the next spot.
we would get the next spot.
So we're playing Champions
disaster
League
happened.
football.
So we are playing Champions League football
Champions
In
Cup. I think
2000
they renamed it.
Yeah.
in the year of our Lord Jesus Cristo,
Lucho Acosta.
2024. In the year of our Lord, 2 foot tall statue, Jesus Christ. So anyway, so on the Shield, there's 3 teams that we got to watch to potentially drop points. Orlando, New England, and Philly. New England and Philly can each get to 64. Orlando can get to 63. We are at 62. That means our next win clinches the Supporter Shield.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
That's it. Right then and there. And our next game, just peeking ahead, is against a team called Toronto FC, which you may notice is at the second bottom of the Supporter Shield table, bottom of the East with a negative 24 goal differential, which I would make fun of, but we've been way
there.
worse.
We'll preview that game on.
Yes.
It's a 7.5 hour drive.
Oh,
I can't go.
Don't make me.
They also have direct flights. I still can't go.
I know. No, I looked it up. It's rather expensive right now to fly. Still might be worth it. I don't know if I might.
Before we get into further like Shield kind of talk. Now that we've played 30 points, okay?
30 games, yeah.
30 games. We can officially say that we've had a better 30-game season than the Columbus Crew's 57 points in their best ever season.
Nice.
Which also means that FC Cincinnati has had a better season this year than Columbus Crew has ever had in their 27-year history.
So you're talking that this is the best season of soccer a team from Ohio has ever played.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
feels good.
Is there, and maybe this is what you're referring to. I know there was like a points per game metric that we were trying to beat.
I don't know if if we get to 65. If we get to 65, then we've beaten the Crew's best points per game.
Okay. From like our early season where they were playing not nearly as many. Nice.
Yeah, well, no, it was their 50 when they got 57 over 30.
Oh, 57 over 30.
It's like, yeah, we've had 62 over 30, but our denominator is going to be 34.
Gotcha.
So we just need a couple more points.
Okay. So one win clinches a whole lot. The Supporter Shield, sure, whatever. But we beat the Columbus Crew's best points per game total. and then somebody, that the real trophy.
And then, somebody, came at me on Twitter and like that tweet, when I tweeted it out, that was just for FC Cincinnati fans. That wasn't for fans of other teams.
Right. It's not your content.
Yet they feel the need to, get up in there. First of all, I don't give a shit about wooden spoons. Just another year you didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep. Columbus Crew have missed the playoffs 3 times. They missed the playoffs last year.
Right. We all know if you ain't first, you last. So everyone wins. Everyone has won the wooden spoon if you don't win the shield or the cup.
If you don't make the playoffs, it was a wasted season.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Second of all, we have been in the league 5 years. The Columbus Crew did not win their first trophy in MLS. We've said it before, but it bears repeating. Until their 7th season. All right.
It's pretty good if we can. It's a foregone conclusion, but you can't. So, but
I'll ask the question I asked to Tommy G to the group here collectively.
Please.
Is there a small part of you that hopes they don't win the shield on the road? Or do you just want to win it?
I want to be guaranteed a celebration on 10-4.
I want the celebration, and I really need, and I may be alone in this, I really need Jeff Birding to give me a "We got more winning to do" part 2 speech. So if we could just get that would be lovely.
This was the more winning we did.
I told you
we
all
did it.
We had more winning to do, and we have done more winning.
Promises made, promises kept.
No, they just need to, in the Bailey, unveil a mission accomplished banner.
Hashtag we got more winning to do, or whatever the initialism is there.
What's the I've never even had to think about this. Do you touch the supporters shield, or is it like the AFC Championship trophy where you don't celebrate that as much because you've got to win the cup? It doesn't matter.
No,
you do touch the supporter shield trophy. It's its own trophy.
Yes. You've won it. It's not like I was blown away by the fact that the NFL does like divisional round trophies, and I kind of see like the conference ones because they used to represent different leagues, I guess, in some way. But yeah.
What do you do? Do you put a banner up for the supporter shield?
Yep. Philly has one for their supporter shield, and they also have one for last year's Cup? Eastern Conference champion.
That's lame.
I don't think you put up a banner for conference champion. I do think you put up a banner. I think it's fine that Philly has a banner up for supporter shield.
We're one win away from getting a banner raising ceremony next year.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, I know it's celebrating like a loss basically, but would you rather have a conference champion or a finalist, like MLS finals 2000 whatever?
I'd rather make the finals than win the conference championship. I think the only regular season.
They got it for like the overall table. So like if you win the East and then lose in the first round, I was thinking like they won.
Oh, I guess I don't know what they meant, because they won the Eastern Conference last year and also but
didn't win the Shield because
the finals. But they didn't win the Shield because LAFC won both.
So what do they put the banner up for? Is it for not winning the Shield or not winning MLS Cup?
I don't know. One or the other.
Right. That's interesting.
Which of these two Johns is true?
Like, I don't mind. Like, he made it to the Cup final. Like, that feels fair. I don't know about celebrating a semifinal.
I don't like it. I think you put up wins.
Yeah.
I don't mind like acknowledging that you won the Eastern Conference, like saying like, "Oh, good job, guys."
Yeah, well done.
But
like literally a handshake. Well done.
Yeah, nice.
I am curious to see how the club will I don't know, display this. Like, a banner obviously is great. Be very curious like if they have plans on where that goes. But yeah, like I really like the idea of TQL Stadium having like not necessarily a museum, but like some piece of like where the history is. And I know the USL trophies over at Mercy Health Training Center or whatever, and that's fine. I would really like some piece of this to be in the stadium. I don't know. If there is hardware, I'd really like for it to be in the stadium somewhere.
Or at the very least, like across the street as part of that like development that they're doing.
Yeah.
Like to have like a team Hall of Fame or something like that, or a team.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there's got to be room something there to
They
show
should
off your
put,
history.
at least for a period of time, they should put the supporter shield. Maybe this would be too hard to like monitor, but it'd be neat if they had the supporter shield like in that new team store on Vine Street.
Yeah.
And you could like walk up into the store and see it.
That'd be cool. Would love that. I know the USL regular season title made its way back to ladder 19, I think. So
Yeah. Is the shield like raised? Can you drink a beer out of the shield?
No, it's a plate.
yeah, it's
Why not? Does it have edges where at least you can like
like a cat might drink
Yeah.
milk out of a saucer. Yeah.
because really that's the only criteria I have for if a trophy's worth a damn is can you drink a beer out of it?
I mean, we could probably dent it and make it a bowl-like structure.
It is raised. Because here's I'm looking at a picture of Matt Turner holding it up by the raised edges.
Then we need to drink
you
out of this.
You could pour something in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
Wow.
Can you believe
shit?
we're having these conversations? This is fucking cool.
The supporter shield used to be like an actual trophy, and then they moved to a plate at some point.
Like it's like a plate with the logo from the old like Pontiac car brand on it, right?
Oh, the plate has the shape of the original trophy in the center.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so it's like this it looks quasi like a combination between Pontiac and the Space Force a little bit.
Anyway, this is the game where I said FC Cincinnati finally became president.
This is it. This is the moment. Yeah, pretty incredible. We get Champions Cup soccer coming to
I would like Champions Cup soccer. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It would feel a little less sweet if it wasn't. If we had gotten there the way Philly did.
Yeah,
third place in Leagues Cup.
Right. Second place in the conference or whatever. Yeah.
Right. But Supporter Shield. That's an honest way.
Yes.
That's honest work.
That's a clean way to do it. I posed this hypothetical in the Discord, and I'm curious which way you guys would fall on this. I assume I know the answer. At this point in the season, would you take not winning the Supporter Shield, whatever that looks like, which right now feels very difficult to get, in exchange for a 1-goal lead at halftime of MLS Cup final?
Easy no for me.
No.
Give me the sure trophy.
Yeah.
I'll take our chances in MLS Cup.
Yeah.
I'd trade the Shield for MLS Cup.
Just straight up.
Okay. Straight up. But you'd have to guarantee me MLS Cup.
Okay.
Yep. I've been at too many games where we've been up 2-0 and haven't been able to seal the goddamn deal. No.
Yeah, I give you a 2-goal lead in the 67th minute. Right?
That goes from a hard no to a fuck no then at that point.
I would negotiate. I think Leagues Cup would have been negotiable. You may be able to talk me to a scenario where I trade Leagues Cup for like a 2-goal lead at halftime of MLS Cup. But I don't think I would trade the Supporter Shield or US Open Cup
for just a lead.
Yeah.
No.
At MLS Cup.
But you would both trade.
Unless it's like 5 goals.
Okay, fair. But you would both trade Supporter Shield for MLS Cup. You both think MLS Cup is the better one to win
all day, every day. You don't put a star over your badge for Supporter Shield.
I do want the star above the badge. However,
it's pretty cool.
I think your first is your favorite. So, I don't think I would. I'm not sure. Because I think there's a lot to be said for gutting out a full season.
Yeah.
And going through international windows and
gosh,
injuries and everything, and saying, yeah, we all played 34 games. We had, I know it's not balanced schedules, but like we played a lot of Western Conference playoff teams.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's
I
funny.
think there's so much to be said for going through a 34 game season and saying like, yes, we were emphatically the best team over the full course of that season, you know? But if we win the Supporter Shield this year, I'll go out on the limb and predict that we will.
Brave of you.
Whoa.
I'm going to want the next thing. Like,
right.
If you ask if we win Supporter Shield this year, and then next year you ask me that question, I would trade MLS Cup for Supporter Shield after having already won Supporter Shield.
See, I was wondering about this as well. Like next year, like I almost don't want to win Supporter Shield. I want us to focus on something else, whether that be the Open
Champions
Cup
League.
or Champions League or Leagues Cup even or whatever. Like, let's go win something else. And yeah, if we're rotating, that the Open Cup is the big one for me. If we're rotating next year to keep the league standings up at a detriment to the Open Cup, way out. Like we've seen USL teams bounce MLS teams. Like I don't care who we're playing, we need to be trying for a trophy there.
I think Tommy G was right that, you know, teams like Philly and Seattle, Seattle, you know, should not have fallen that far. Right. But like, let's say you're LAFC, right? And LAFC made the finals.
Yeah.
Of Champions League. They're sitting second in the West, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're way out of the Supporter Shield race.
Yeah.
They did the right thing.
Yeah.
They did the right thing.
They did.
I think where I'm at right now is that I would trade Supporter Shield for MLS Cup, but then the second we win it, I will go absolutely to the mat. Defending the Supporter Shield is the better of the two trophies, and that your MLS Cup winner is a fraud if they also didn't win Supporter Shield. That it's not so much that not winning MLS Cup after winning Shield is the disappointment. It's winning MLS Cup without having the Shield. You're just a fraud champion if you don't win both.
Yeah.
Well, like NYCFC, for example, is a total fraud champion.
Yes.
It's like Philly got COVID before the Eastern Conference Finals.
Like any team that wins MLS Cup that's not FC Cincinnati this year, they're just frauds because they were not the better team. The better team didn't win. We have demonstrative proof of who the best team is. So if anyone other than FC Cincinnati wins MLS Cup, you can say the best team didn't win.
Right. Exactly.
It's very hard to say the best team didn't finish first after 34 games.
Right.
Yes.
And it's like not particularly close. Like, yeah, we're playing out these scenarios, but like the math bears it out that it would take an extreme catastrophic event to knock us off course here. Glancing over at the Western table, another team that took a slightly different approach to the year, an Open Cup finalist, Houston Dynamo, a team that I know Grayson, you've been high on.
I told you Houston was good.
That you've been high on. We were high on RSL during the Leagues Cup. Seattle Sounders, who we beat at home very early in the season, third in the West. Houston Dynamo in fourth. So they
turns
could
out
very
that
well.
Houston win in week 1, 2-1, was actually a pretty damn good win, as it turns out.
Yeah, and that Seattle win, it felt like 2 weeks later, is also nice.
We beat 3 of the top 7.
Yeah,
in the West.
Yeah,
tied Vancouver. Yeah, 7th, and then lost to St. Louis in
inexplicable fashion.
I'll chalk that up to a
weather
rain delay.
Yeah. I mean, if that
barometric pressure.
Projecting way too much into the future. But if that's the MLS Cup final, I'm very confident going into that one.
So speaking of balanced schedule, right?
Yeah.
We played 6 Western Conference teams. Is that right?
Feels right. 5, 6, yeah.
5 of those are currently top 7 in the Western Conference.
Wow. Man.
Got it done. I mean, you can't say they didn't earn it. If they win it on Wednesday, if they win it on Saturday, you can't say they didn't earn it.
Yep. Yeah, it'd be one thing.
I'm excited already. I can't wait for Saturday.
It feels good.
I might drive to this game. I don't know.
It'd be fun. I mean,
it would be fun.
Oh, shit. If there actually is a scenario. Where I go to this game Saturday.
Tell me more.
We'll talk about it after.
All right.
I just realized that there is like a thing that could
get you there.
That could free up my weekend. But let's talk about it off the.
Grayson, I just don't get a divorce over this. You know, there will be other opportunities to watch your team.
And now here's the devil on your shoulder. All the Molson and Labatt you can drink in a weekend.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I think that does it for a postcast. Yeah, just a hell of a time to be a fan, huh? Who'd have thought, huh? Just a couple of years ago, this team was not in this position.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago, we were just bitching on Twitter about how angry everything was, and now we've got a podcast with 12 listeners. We gave away or are giving away a gift card for Empanadas.
We gave one away, and folks who have listened to this part of the podcast have definitely heard the opportunity to win another one. So
there we go. Look at us. How about us? Who would have thought?
On that note, Chief, get us out of here.
Fuck Columbus.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast, which is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com for all of our written content, as well as links to our social media. You can follow us on Twitter, and as well, you can join us on our Discord server. You can find links to that server both in this episode description as well as on our website. That is where most of our conversations are going on. We have a lovely community there talking about FC Cincinnati, MLS, anything and everything else and everything in between. We also want to give a huge thanks to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing all of the music you've heard throughout this episode. They're an amazing local Cincinnati band. Again, more information about them is in the description of this episode. And if you enjoyed what you listened to, and you've made it to the end, so I'm going to assume you liked it, or you just can't reach your stop button, please like us, review us, subscribe to us wherever you are getting your podcasts. That is going to be really, really helpful. But more importantly, share this with a friend. A personal recommendation helps spread a podcast so much further. So please share this if you know somebody in your life who's an FC Cincinnati fan, an MLS fan, somebody that you think would enjoy this. Pass it on over. Thank you so much again for listening. It blows me away that people continue to listen to us, and thank you so much again.